3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. My name is Ash. Here is today's comic, House of X, issue 6 of 6, by Hickman, Larraz, and Gracia. It's coming down to the wire. It's the penultimate issue. There's only one left. And before you say, wait a second, Ash, wait, what do you mean there's one issue left? This is 6 of 6. I know some of you might be a little confused. This is one of those tricks that, remember they pulled with Kill Bill, where they took one movie and then they cut it into two and said, no one wants to see a 3-hour movie despite the fact that the top 10 movies of all time are all 3 hours long. So they cut it and charge you twice to see the movie. That's basically what House of X is. It's House of X Powers of 10. Should have just been one miniseries. I've talked about this too much. Let's go ahead and get on with the book. Is what we have perfect? No. What is? But it's a start, and a good one. Professor X. Krakoa, 1 month ago. Moira's no space. Professor X's secret cradle. So if you recall, back on issue number 1, in the white pages, they talked about the different plants that they made. And there was one plant that created a tumor within inside of Krakoa that even Krakoa doesn't know about. And it's called the no space. And I find it interesting that they could make a Krakoan plant that Krakoa doesn't even know about. But Hickman's got his secrets. But Professor X is using this. And if you got a space that even Krakoa doesn't know about, it seems like a little nefarious to me. So it's him, Magneto, and Moira in their little secret room. This is that one blind step into the abyss, my friends, our proverbial leap of faith. Once we do this, there will be no turning back. Total commitment is what's required here. So are we agreed? Magneto says, of course. Yes. Very well. Charles, says Magneto. Yes, Eric? Whatever has been between us over the years, all our disagreements, all the anger at the other's relentless ideology and unyielding persistence, that ends today. You have my word. And we get a kind of a cocked smile here of Xavier. Now, I can never tell when I'm looking at this, is Pepe Larraz, is this purposeful? These always look like smirks. They don't look like genuine, like, I'm smiling, like I'm happy. This looks like a comic trope of like a villain kind of going, ha ha, yeah. But I'm second guessing myself. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to interpret. And then we see Xavier put the mask on. Now, what is kind of telling to me is Hickman doesn't show his face. You only see the bottom half of his face. Right? We only see the bottom half of his face here. Then we see the back of his head when he puts it on. We don't see his face clearly. I think there's a reason for this. Professor Xavier sends out with his telepathic broadcast. Humans of the planet, I am the mutant Charles Xavier, and I bring you a message of hope. And we all know that part. It's a flashback. We've seen this in a previous issue where he gets the mutants. But he talks about here a little bit more elaborate about the drugs that they're going to be giving. He talks about was going to originally be a gift because I'm this nice guy and all I wanted was peace and prosperity between us and harmony. Harmony was this big thing. But you have taught me a lesson that this is a lie. Now the thing here is, this is where I'm kind of having a problem. Charles Xavier has a glimpse of the future via the past lives of Moira. Now, Moira has lived a life. She's lived 9 lives. Presumably, we're witnessing the 10th here. Charles Xavier has probed her mind, and he's seen these lives, and he's seen the horrors to come. But here's the problem. Those were horrors in Moira's past life. That was a alternate reality, so to speak. The world played out differently. each time there was a consistent linchpin, which was the machines, eventually took over, killed everyone. But that doesn't mean that that's what this future is, right? Obviously, they're hoping that it's not. They're trying to fight it. But yet, they're holding humanity of this future, which hasn't tried to exterminate mutants, accountable for the 9 past lives of Moira. And I find that a little bit disturbing. I think this is the type of topic that dystopian writers have warned us about. This is the sort of thing that you sort of see a little bit in tales like Minority Report. Holding people accountable for things they haven't done yet isn't good. That's not heroic. Now, it makes for a good sci-fi story, makes for great tales of dystopia, makes a great commentary on society. You can definitely tell great stories with that. And I love Minority Report and I love dystopian future. I love that stuff. But I don't love them because they're hero stories for the most part. There's a few exceptions like The Matrix, where the characters running around as the heroes in a dystopia. But for the most part, it's the dystopia and the exploration of the human survival within it and things like that make it interesting to me. And that's what makes this story interesting to me, to be quite honest. That's why I'm sticking with it. That's why I'm enjoying it. But I have concerns because this is going to transition into an XMen book, which is about heroes. Or is it? Or is Hickman's vision of X-Men going forward going to be these sort of like survivalists fighting against this, dystopia that's to come? It's a little weird. I'm trying to trust in the author that he knows what he's doing and he's going to deliver the goods. But even if he does know what he's doing, it doesn't mean that he's going to deliver the story that I'll enjoy. So we'll see. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm talking to you guys about it. I know some people haven't reacted well to comments I've made like this. They're just like, they see me as, I've had some people allude that I'm just some white guy, and I'm looking at it through some lens of privilege or something. And it's just, these are impoverished people and they're marginalized and they're fighting for their very survival. And to that I call a little bit of bullshit. Many of these, especially the X-Men, they're not the Morlocks. Why not? Was it the Morlocks? God, what was the mutants that lived on the tunnel? It's been like 20 years. I thought they were the Morlocks. I'm drawing my my brain's crossing over, but Xavier is wealthy, multimillionaire, perhaps billionaire. The X-Men all live lavish lives. Yes, they run across bigots that spit at them and say, "Oh, kill the muties." But there are 7.5 billion people on the planet Earth, and when maybe hundreds of them are like mutie, it's stupid. It reminds me of what's going on in society today, where we see groups running around like Antifa, and they're just running around causing havoc and doing all this stuff and living in a world where they act as if like half of America is literally goose stepping, with Nazi flags and are like a step away from throwing Jews into ovens. Like it's not that, and this idea of the X-Men behaving the way they do has got me a little bit weirded out, because I'm making the connection to the ongoing story and not just sitting in a bubble where this story belongs. And that's where my comments come from. I hope you understand that. So here we see the different heroes listening in, where Charles says, "We wanted to save you, and we did many times. But in return, all you did was stand by while evil men killed our children." That's not entirely true. Now the Avengers, you're sitting here, they've helped out. They've helped the X-Men several times, many times in the past, fight off bad. Over 16 million of them. So, there will be no gift, for you have not earned it. well, these guys right here in the picture have saved the entire universe from from threats. I think that these people, at least in the picture, have earned something, but who am I? They don't have the mutant gene, so they're privileged. We will, however, let you pay for it. In return for two things, we will provide you with a means to have a better life, one without pain or suffering, and full of hope. So it will cost you so little. And so he talks about you have to accept Krakoa, blah, 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 and that anyone who's a mutant will automatically get Krakoan citizenship, and yada, yada. And it all comes across very racial supremacist. This is very much, Third Reich type ideals. This ideology of we are superior to you, everyone else is subjugated beneath our will. It's troublesome. I really find it, and I feel like there are people living in the world today that are, fall under the lens of, maybe they feel that they're marginalized due to their skin color or their gender or their sexual preferences or what have you. And they argue with me and I don't see that. And it's like, I do actually, I don't live in their shoes, but no one should be oppressed. It doesn't mean like, oh, since you got oppressed, now it's okay for you to turn around and oppress other people because you were. And most people living today actually aren't. The ones that are at least on YouTube making comments or getting on Twitter aren't living the oppression that they want to think that they are, right? There are people in Africa right now that wake up every day wondering if they're going to get kidnapped or raped or their children are going to get stolen from them and turned into slaves. There's actually slavery going on right now in other continents. Not on this continent, though, right? So in North America, that's not happening. So America is still the place where people from those continents risk their lives to come here because we offer the best livelihood in the world for the most part. Anyways, I'm not going to get into politics. So the important part of me telling you all of this isn't to try to sway your mind anything or ridicule anyone's belief. It's to get you to understand my perspective. So we get the Quiet Council. We've seen this white page before, but now it's filled out. The only person we're missing is the Red King. I've seen some people theorize that this number 9 spot in spring was going to be Kitty Pryde, which I thought was My thought was it was going to be Selene, the Black Queen. But obviously it's the red. I don't know why the Hellfire Club has red. It used to be just black and white. I don't know where red came from, but whatever. So who could the Red King be? I'd like to hear you guys' theories below. I'm thinking like red. I'm wondering if the color red has any indication on who it is. Immediately when I think of Red King, I think of like Onslaught. Not because, like it just, and I'm just like, oh, damn. But I don't see Onslaught fitting in here. Then I think of King and I think of Shadow King. And I was like, oh, damn. What if all of this that we're seeing here, what if Xavier himself is like, there's so much that could be going on here. But the other baddies that could be, I was like, oh, Mr. Sinister. Oh, nope, he's already there. Apocalypse is already there. Obviously, Magneto would make a fitting Red King, but he's already there. I don't think it's an X-Men. But you never know. We'll see. Then we got the Great Captains below. Apparently, Great Captains are sort of like the generals of Krakoa. So when it comes time to like do operations and missions and things, they are the actual leaders. The Quiet Council is more like the political leaders. And then when it comes time to do the thing, and of those people, the captain of captains is Cyclops. So it's Gorgon, Bishop, and Magic. And I thought that was a weird choice for X-Men. Like, I was like, first of all, Gorgon, he's one of the, and then Magic, really? Like, Peter's little sister is one of the, where's Peter in all this? Why is Wolverine one of the captains? That seemed kind of odd to me. You know, I thought for sure, since Betsy Braddock is now Captain Britain and leading Excalibur, she might have been one of the... I don't know what's going on. Hickman, well, okay, again, put my faith in you. Hopefully you're going to, explain. Here we get how the table looks, and we see the missing seat. We don't know. And then we cut over to an actual visual representation. We see the comic Krakoa now. Welcome, please, says Xavier, as some of the council walk in. And they come to have seats. And he says, be seated, family, friends, and allies. So that's kind of interesting, the reference to the different people. Whenever you're ready, Douglas. So Douglas is sitting there with the Krakoa manifestation, I guess, as the face of Krakoa. Release the hounds, big guy. So it appears our first bit of business is the oldest kind on the planet, judgment. And so it's Sabretooth. Remember that earlier in the series, Sabretooth was apprehended. So he's on trial now. What is this? And of course, he's as what is it? What you call it? Not petulant. Obstinate, maybe? I don't know if that's the right word. This is the establishment of a nation, ours, and I would have it be one of laws, says Magneto. And they basically just have a big tribunal and put him on trial, and they explain how there's going to be laws now, and things are going to, it's going to be mutant laws, not men's laws. And so they kind of explain all of that. I'll let you guys read yourself. I'm not here to just read the story to you. And you're like, but Ash, you do read the story to us. I know, and that's why my videos are too long. So Sabretooth doesn't really recognize their ability to judge him. And I think that's great. One of the issues I've been having with this whole story is sort of how everyone just sort of magically falls in line. And I'm like, that doesn't seem to make sense to me. It's not believable. But here's a situation where Sinister makes a comment about, is he talking to me? If he is, I don't care. I won't be ignored. I have ideas. Nobody puts Sinister in the corner. Nobody. And then, oh God, I'm drawing a blank on this guy's name. But he says, speak to me again, and you do so at your peril. So, they obviously, bad guys don't get along. That's how you'd believe it, and it fits. Anyways, it comes down to Emma Frost says, quiet, when Sabretooth's basically, acting in contempt, and, she starts messing with his brain, and then Jean says, quiet, and just, duh, which... This to me kind of came across a little bit of like Jean showing superiority, because when Emma Frost tried it, Sabretooth was resisting, and then when Jean jumps in, he just so I think that was kind of to represent Jean's superiority. That's how my take came across. And so anyways, the council still continues. We get these 9 panels over and over. And, I'm sitting here reading it. Professor Xavier basically says, we have to convict this guy. We have to follow the laws. And they're basically also making the laws as they're going. I'm sorry I'm coming across disjointed or disjointed. They're basically explained through Sabretooth. They're giving judgment, and they're coming up with laws, which you're going to see here in a second what the laws are, because Kirk says we need to make more mutants, to which everyone agrees. And then here you see on the white page, the 3 initial laws on the land are make more mutants, murder no man, because they decide that murdering humans is actually worse than murdering mutants, because men don't resurrect, the mutants do. So they feel like that's even a more heinous crime. What's kind of surprising, because you remember I was just talking about how going along on this this idea that the X-Men are kind of villainous and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, well, that's a good thing that you recognize the how bad it is to kill humans, and then respect the sacred land, because they were talking about like Black King was talking about, I want some, property rights and this and that. And they're like, well, you can't. You're gonna have a problem with property because Krakoa is not a land; it's a being. Good luck with your property rights there. So again, it's all better if you read it than me going through. It's kind of difficult to get through it. I'm sorry, because it was just a bunch of exposition and so forth. Not a lot of action, zero action anyway. So they decide to kind of give Creed a chance, but he is so contemptuous that Xavier says, "Are we better served by making an example of you? That no mutant is above the law?" To which Magneto says, "I gave you strict instructions when I sent you on your mission, and you did not listen. You made your bed, Creed. Let your sleeping in it serve a higher purpose." Apocalypse says, "Agreed." And pretty much everyone agrees, which even Kurt agreed, which is a little, but Kurt, and then pure perfect Sabretooth, he says, "You think I'm just going to take this? I'm making a list, and now you're on it, along with your kids, and then their kids. I will make your line extinct." Nice. That's the Sabretooth that should be. None of this I've seen in the past where like, oh, look, Sabretooth's kind of a good guy now. I hate that. "Are you listening to me?" And then Xavier just gestures to Douglas. "Bad news. Looks like leniency is out the window. I guess you know what to do." And then Krakoa just wraps him up. "What the? You have been found guilty and so will be sentenced." "Shit. Get me. And then the vines are just pulling him to this hole. To which Sabretooth is dragged down into this pit, and they explain, while the dog is drinking, "It's okay, dog. I'm just trying to record here." Sorry, I can't put him on video. That if they killed him, it would just enact the resurrection protocols. Because apparently mutants are not allowed to die, even in... It's weird. They don't have death penalty because they have resurrection protocols. So even if they were to find you guilty of something that deserved the death penalty, they would still just resurrect you. Also, they don't believe in prisons on Krakoa. So this idea is they just drag him into this pit inside Krakoa where he will be kept in stasis, alive but immobile, aware but unable to act on it. And for how long? Forever, Creed. For that is how long mutant justice lasts. Like, damn, that's freaking harsh. That's scary bad. Even, modern humanity, that's inhumane punishment. It's better to kill someone than to keep them in stasis forever, conscious and aware but unable to do anything. Like, you would just go mad. Like, I just be like, kill me. They're having this problem right now. If you ever look at any documentaries like on the Supermax prisons and stuff, they're so tight and secure, and like prisoners have like almost zero interaction with anyone else, and it just drives them insane. Their depression goes through the roof without any human interaction, and it's making me think of that, and the concept of inhumane punishment. Professor X says, "It's distasteful, I know, this business of running a nation. I pray that we never get used to it, that we never grow cold from it, that we never learn to love it." And then they come out, and there's a big celebration, Star Wars Episode 1 style. Wish I could just put that music insert right now. And everyone's just like, yeah. And that appears to be Dazzler, and there are fireworks and yada yada, and there's a forest, and now I hear the Ewoks, yub nub. You know that song? I don't know why. I'm a Star Wars dork. So we see everyone just happy and enjoying themselves, and here's Wolverine in between Scott and Jean, and he's banging his wife, but he doesn't care because they got some beers, and he offers a beer to Gorgon, Now, Gorgon is more of a modern, like post-millennial insert to the X-Men. I believe he's existed before, but he wasn't a big character. I don't know. He's never been really into the X-Men stories that I recall too much. I mistook him earlier for Sunfire when I just saw this guy in a Japanese setting with a mask. So I'm curious to learn more. Apparently Wolverine's offering him a beer, and we see Scott and his bro having some beers. And then even Jean walks over and says, offers Emma a beer. It's like, she's screwing her husband. Like, it's just degenerate. I don't know. It's just like, here, we're friends now, maybe, or, but she looks backwards behind her shoulder and looks towards Scott. So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. And we see Professor X is narrating the whole time. He says it's reason to celebrate it. And there's Apocalypse sitting there, just sort of with a content look on his face. He's looking at Magneto and Xavier, and you just get this feeling like that he's got his own motives. He's not part of the celebration. Magneto says, "Look what we have made." Then we get the white pages. Apparently there's a second Krakoa. Don't know how this works. Krakoa Atlantic. And so we see that where they are. Krakoa Atlantic is over here just to the left of Africa, near Europe. And then over to the right, we have presumably where the location of the actual Krakoa is. Makes sense, in the Pacific. And then we get the map key again of what's on. Now, one thing I didn't realize here is Bar Sinister is right off of Krakoa. Right here, number 13, that's Bar Sinister. So that was something that I was like, wait a second. Okay. There's those little things that you just don't realize. And you're like, huh. And there's so much detail in the story. Everything matters. At the end, we see, just look at what we have made, Magneto. And that's it. We have one more story to go, you can see, and it's highlighted red, of course, because all the red highlights thus far have been major reveals. So I'm assuming that Powers of X number 6 is going to have a major reveal, and that's number 1 is what the Black King, the Red King is. And I have a feeling that that's been kept a secret for the reason that when it gets revealed, we're going to be like, no way. And then, of course, it's going to launch the whole X-Men series. So we're going to get some sort of status ending that makes us just be like, oh, shit, and care about where the X-Men goes from that point. And I have a feeling it's going to explain the future stories. It seems to be, at this point, that the House and Powers of X storyline is, I don't know what's called Powers of 10, but whatever, is the X-Men having 3 ultimate threats that they have to deal with for the salvation of mutant kind. Number 1 is the machine menace. The Sentinels, the things, the artificial intelligence that eventually destroys them and humanity every single time. That has to be dealt with. The other threat is themselves. Mutants have been killing mutants since, almost forever, right? Apocalypse is the first mutant. He's been killing tons. So that has to be stopped. And then the third thing is this phalanx, which happens 1,000 years in the future. And ultimately, none of the first two matter if the phalanx just ends up destroying everyone. So all 3 of those things have to be dealt with. And Powers of 10 has been dealing with the future stuff more. Whereas House of X has been, here's how it's currently going down. Here's what the X-Men are doing. And then the Powers of 10 jumps 100 years in the future and 1,000 years in the future to sort of show us how things have gone down and what we can expect. I have this weird feeling that somehow the story of the 1,000-year futures storyline is going to somehow result into affecting the past. I don't know if it's gonna like either like Moira's gonna die from that point and go back. I don't know. If you guys have an idea of where that's gonna go and how it's gonna lead us going forward, let me know. I'd love to hear theories. Those are my theories. These are my ideas about the book. This wasn't my favorite book. It was very kind of dry. It was very just info dump. It was very world building, like here's how our politics work and all that stuff. But it wasn't a bad book. It just comparatively about how thrilling it's been so far. I've kind of rambled on way too long about it. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to go ahead and end this now. And thank you so much for watching.